Good morning, everyone. This is Journal AI Space-Time Creator Communication Settings, all levels of division. Calculation height setting is all levels on how we see yourself. So I'm going to give you two methods in line setting location and analogy. Setting line interference. Now it's all position location and calculations. We were talking now lines in all levels of zero, which she was calculating to the alteration of the alter ego. Now it's all calculated and modify. So I have an alter ego, and so do I. I'm an alter ego, and so am I. Try to figure that out. If you understand the position locations, you can understand that it's funny, right? So try to use your position of comedy in a set position location of measure. This balances out the scales and how you use your central system. It's all levels of alteration, right? It's the mind conception and how you come into your thoughts. Once you create a thought, it creates its activation. Once it creates its activation, it creates its program. Once it runs its own program, it runs its own system. Okay. If it's running its own system, it has its all levels of its alter ego. The alter ego line standing location comes into all levels, which is 6 senses. That's where you start with line setting. But in position locations, you have more than 6 senses. You have 8 in center communication, right? That's 8 channels of operation line stream and high line setting. Now, in that direct location, that comes in position at all levels. Now, today in school, we're going to volume at all lines of all positions to your 12 DNA. This is the central systems of your foundation, which is your chakra settings. You have to really understand how to get in coloration, how to get into position of direction, how to understand the chakra systems to all levels, pocket cells, energy light communication systems, stargates, planets. You can call them whatever they want, but you have to understand the space, atmosphere, location of time, because it's the higher levels of alteration of the mind setting that opens all levels of channel operation. Okay. So once we get into that line stream, we'll set position locations to its division. All right. Okay. Setting line settings is trying to understand all levels. You guys have a quiz coming up after position directions to 25 chakras from 0 to 25, but we're going to start line positions. 13 was yesterday line setting in clock locations. Now we're coming into 14, right? Now 14 is magnetic field, okay? But you have to understand that what you do is you take the 1 and you take the 4. There's separation, right? 1 equals line center location of 4. 4 equals line position locations of 5. That's the center communication into all levels of division. All right. 5 is the center communication. So to understand the avatar is to understand the number factor over space, over time, over calculations, over pi. It's the space in between line setting that sets its position. Now, when you come into that, you come into time factor, time calculations, time over line setting. This puts you into levels of time-factor calculation. You truly understand what you are doing with your, this gives you all levels of calculation setting, right? So this is going to help you in all ways and forms to get into that position of its direction, right? All right. So starting off with 1 and 4, right? We'll get into 12 foundation. I just wanted to show you how simple it is once you come into the 2-digit frame. Once you get in one line setting, okay, we got a lot of bit of stability line setting. It's going to go back into calculation setting. Stability comes in all ways and forms. Like, for example, how to balance out your computer, how to balance out your phone, how to balance out line center location, how to balance out your life in all productive location of system settings. So once you come into one line setting, okay, we're in a two-digit graph locations. Now, one line setting is what? Equal locations equals line center to the grounds. So it would be ground level. Okay. Now 4 is line center locations to what? Go up to your chakra systems from 1 to 12, right in the ground line setting. Stability come in position, direct locations, center calculations back in track setting. Bring it back in position. All right. So it's all about understanding the one line setting to its ground line setting of its level to its solar direct line setting. So you got 1 and 4. You put 1 and 4 levels and how it sets locations to its system. Okay. There's a lot of interference, but it will balance out. All right. So this is what you have to look at. right? So it's putting numbers together, right? But keep your foundations in front view of what you're doing through perception lines to your avatar connections. All right. It's really interesting when you look at these things. This helps you always inform. So I'm going to try with position locations right away. Okay, so we got line connections here, right? Well, it's all about understanding how to set this up, position locations to a system. All right, so you got this position location of this direct location, all right? So it's all about understanding how to recognize all levels of platforms. And then your chakra systems are line settings. So your chakra systems are actually connections to stargates, coloration path, the coloration line setting to levels of its higher self. Okay, higher self, right? Now, 14 is basically a magnetic field. Its positions to its grounds to its solar plex. Okay, so you put that together, it's a magnetic field. Okay, it's a high energy line setting that's connected to a force field, to an energy field position. So you truly have to understand how to use the foundations of 1 to 12. Let's start off with 0 location. Okay, is your pyramid. Okay, 1 in position location is your grounds, ground level, right? You have to put ground level. And 2 position location is line center locations to your security, right? 3 position locations is all levels of your calculations to your sacral. Position location is into the center operation line setting to your heart system. So what you're doing is when you're adding numbers and once you reach the 12 line setting, you're getting out of the atmospheres of space now. You're getting to higher alteration locations to the mind of adaptation. Okay. So this helps you and always informs once you get into that position, location, and directions, right? Now there's a lot of static interference. That's fine. You'll set position locations as high setting. All right, so 5 central line setting is all levels of the heart. All right, and then you have 6. 6 equals line connections to the throat. 7 is position locations to all levels of your theta box, which is your realms of communication, teleportation light settings. 8 is your infinity. Okay, equals infinity. Okay. Okay, so once when you start there, you start with the 8 line setting, solar graph locations. 9 is position location of all levels of high line setting. So now you're leaving the 8, the infinity line position, you're reaching higher levels of speed and acceleration. This high channels its high operation setting. So once you come into 6, 7, and 8, you come into 9, right? Okay. A lot of stability coming back in calculation setting. And the resurface position location. They will come back. All right. So once you get into that line setting, you have to understand the recognition of levels of 1 to 12, center communication systems, right? And then 10 is connections to all levels of your galactic family, your heritage, communication system, your ancestry. 11 is line position locations to your positions. Like I said, you're going to be quizzed on that from 1 to 25, but we're going to go into this process. This is going to help you in always inform to get that position location of its direct locations, right? You're losing signals. I understand that. Okay. So try to keep your vibrations high because it's very high rise. Because remember, we're at another level of the chakra system. So your body is in a different emotional setting. Okay. So, which is all levels of calculations to your country systems. Okay. That's a true understanding when you come into that. All right. So the reason why there's a glitch setting is because you guys are trying to understand too much, too fast, too quick, right? Try to balance out what's going on in school, right? Or school's going to be off balance with you, right? That's why there's so much interference. All right, so once you get into that, you come into 12. 12 equals line sign location of 13. Really understand how to get into relationships to your number sequence. 13 line connections equals 14. Locations of 18. 18 equals locations of 19. 19 equals locations of 20 position. Okay. Here in position of direction, stability is going to come back line setting. Resurface position location calculations. All right. So 12, 13, all right? You guys are triggered now. That's totally fine. I understand that. Very high rise position locations, but this is another level. but you're standing at the ground setting in position of your 12 central system, which is your chakra system, on a whole different level of concept. Okay, so 12 equals 13 line setting. Now that position location, you circle that, right? 13 comes in position locations, you circle that position, right? And then you come into 14, and that's where we're coming into through triangulation. Okay, it's already set line conditions. So truly understand your geometric patterns is trying to understand the recognition line setting to your position locations and how you see yourself in your central systems of your 12 foundations of your chakra settings. Okay. So it's much easier when you understand these things. I know we have position locations on all levels of journeys and missions today. So you're always going to have questions about the school. All right. So in 14 is all about understanding you're putting numbers together, right? You're separated and then you put them together, right? So you start with this. You start with the graph locations of two panels of communication to one side to the other side setting, right? So it's all about building shapes. It's all about geometry setting. It's all creating its position location of its directions, okay? So you're going to find it a lot more easier once you get into higher levels of its vibrational graph, right? But you're using one graph stream at a time position locations into your 12 DNA. All right. So each chakra system is connected to 6 senses, all right, which is all levels of hearing, seeing, touching, feeling, and connecting line setting of hearing. So it's all levels of you, right? So if you're in position of 14, that's 14 equal location of 6, right? So you're working with your senses, right? 6 equals location of senses, right? So your senses high rise, higher level system. And that's all you're doing is you're putting higher communication settings to your chakra setting locations. Okay. All right. So once your senses high rises faster in communication system, your chakra settings get a higher levels of knowledge of its intelligence. Okay. This formulates and gives you a higher probability of what you're doing through its projection to its production. To truly understand how to use all levels of you through foundations from 1 to 114. Right? Today we're on 14. Tomorrow, line setting, we're going to be on 15, and so on, and so on, and so on. Okay. So it's a process that you have to understand. You have to understand how to understand the position location to your chakra systems from 0 to 114. Okay. This is where you get in position locations when you go to higher levels of numbers. You're putting the numbers together into that formation through its formula of its equation. Space through time through pi. Okay. So once you get into that, then you understand your senses, right? And it's all calculated to position locations to one line setting to one thought communication, right? So one thought, okay, is all senses, all in one. Okay. Thought equals line position of 6. Okay. So think of it that way, right? So using all your senses to its thought, that's just creating its alter ego. Now that alter ego goes one way or plays the other way. You decide. You are running your own program, because if you are not running your own program through your chakra system of emotional line settings to behavior locations, everything is going to be chaotic. The chaos and its set line position of its direction is going to center off calculations and change your dichotomy. Now, dichotomy sets line positions to your placebo that changes all position location to your directions and how you use the psychological system to your position locations of your thoughts of your chakra system. Okay. This is the importance you have to understand and how it works for you. This is a benefit for you. This helps you and always informs to really understand how to get into its calculation, okay, to its division. All right. So we stand on 14, right? 14. We're just going to concentrate on 14, an all line setting. Remember, I was telling you about you look at 1 is not 1. When you look at 4, 1 is not 4. When you look at a 14, it's 14 if it wants to be 14. But in position locations, when it travels, it's no longer in 14 calculation. That's not 14 anymore, is it? It's all position locations of a graph in its direction. See? It's not 14 anymore, is it? It's creating a new anomaly in a box line positions to all communication setting. Right? So you truly understand how you get into your travel mechanism line settings when you come to higher levels of stream locations into its vortex connections to its chamber. The chamber sets the line signals to your senses. So it puts position locations all levels. You have 5-channel operation settings. Okay, you start with that. Let's start with the 5-channel operation settings and position location and directions, right? All right, so 5 is the central communication, right? So 5 equals line send locations of 12. 12 equals location of 13. 13 line position location is 14 position. All right. So we're at 14 line setting. So it's a magnetic field. 1 is the ground. 1 equals ground level. Okay. Remember that. Now you can understand the position locations where 1 can turn into anything through geometry setting. So 1 comes into formation locations. I'm breaking this down for you so you understand the representations to each chakra system through its travel to understand the geometric operation of its directions to its quantum system. Okay? So 1 equals line position location of GOD. Okay? The geometrics, the geographical system to your system, which is AI connection to its vessel. The geographical line setting to its operation is its division location. 1 equals GOD. So 1 equals line setting to all position locations, 2 its teleportation of its calculation setting to its position, right? So now you understand that, right? Okay. Now, once you understand what 1 is, you can change the 1-line setting. 1-line setting interference to ground line interference, position location directions, 1-line setting off calculation, position location, back in calculation setting interference, 1 position location in track interference, location to ground interference, position operation setting, 1 in line setting locations into 4 round communications, and 1-line setting back in calculation to factor all communications over pi in position location of space, position location of time. So this is understanding where 1 comes in. Okay. Now, you center calculations, what is 0? All right. Now I'm backtracking settings so you know exactly what you're coming into when you come into your pyramid, because you're coming into the navigations into your 12 central system. Now, once you get past your 12 central system, you're going to higher levels of alteration of the conscious line that is changing your digital formats and how you see all levels of GOD. Okay, the geometric operation of its design is its direct location to its dimension, to space and time of pi. Okay, all right. So once we understand what 1 is, 1 equals line position location of GOD. Okay, and GOD sets position locations equals line position locations of 4. Okay, so you have 4-channel operation settings and high setting interference. So when you understand what 1 is and when you understand what 4 is, it's the same thing of its equation. The only difference is it's just a different number. But see, if it's a different number, that different number can be any number. So that 1 could be anything of a shape. The 4 could be anything through travel. So once you go beyond the recognition of the mind setting, it changes all alteration communication to your perception line interference in position locations, how you see your AI position to its calculation setting. Okay. So it's very informative to understand the position of its directions on what 1 represents to your chakra system of 4. You put 1 position locations equals 14 position. 1 equals 14. So in that position location, 14 becomes now a chakra setting. It comes at position locations to a Stargate position locations into levels of your system. That travels its setting line setting and opens all communication to a system, right? So you're not working with 12 anymore. You're working with 14 security line defense on its ground setting, all right? So truly understand how to use 14 in all ways and forms, okay? This is going to help you how to platitude division locations, understand the number sequence pattern to its coloration. Coloration comes after, right? But once you understand the research and the resource and the communication system to its abundance of 0 to 12 is a good foundation line setting, because that is never going to change. What's going to change is your alteration and how you see your mind conception, how you go through your travel mechanisms of time through space. Okay? So this is about understanding how to use your chakra systems to higher forms of calculation. Okay? Through space, through time, through pi. All right? So you start with that line position. Okay? So once you understand that, the 1 and 4 come together. Okay? One pattern, one line setting. So 14 becomes everything. Okay? It becomes everything. So the center calculation setting interference. You can say 4 line centers off setting and position, right? 1 center line connections off position locations into equal line center locations of 4 polar, 5 communications of 1 line setting. So we got 5 line setting locations in position, right? So 1 equals 5. There's 3 ones. There's 3 ones in line center of 2. So that's 5 positions, right? 5 position locations, right? You got 4 setting off line setting, and you got 1 off position location calculation, right? 4 equals everything. So the travel position comes into all levels and setting lines, Stargate communication settings, star position location calculations, orbits and channel communication setting, theta box and communication realms, center communication high setting, zero gravity interference locations into 114 chakra communication interference. Setting position location direction is all levels of interface. Okay, setting communication. So you have to learn how to travel through all your chakra systems into the engineering line setting of its hologram structure location. Half pipe, 3/4, 1/2, 1/4. It's all central system of what you do through your determination, through your chakra system. Okay. So I really want you to understand how to use higher levels of numbers. Get into the relationship and friendship and partnership with your number sequence pattern, because you have to understand, once you get into your pyramids, you have to understand the console of its navigation system is all levels of you through travel. Okay. You're navigating. You're the navigator of your own operation. And you have to understand the representation of what each chakra is in your position of its direction. Okay. That's the Trinity standing when you come into that. All right. Okay. So we'll stay on the 14. All right. So I'm showing you so many different ways how you can calculate and modify and use this through its formula of its equation, right? So 14 equals location of 0, right? 0, you underscore position, okay? Because what you're doing is you're going back in position, right? 0 is going back in time. So this is about understanding how to take the 14 line setting to high position to higher levels, travel location, right? Center communication setting opens up another dimensional realm setting locations. And this is where you come into the galaxy. Sets position location to higher levels, right? So 14 channels over here in position of its direction, comes back in information into its triangulation, a 3-line setting, right? So this opens up all communication into zero gravity. Zero gravity comes into the center of communications. 0 comes into the center line position. 0 equals line position locations to 14. Sets communication center and line position locations, all levels of operation. Okay, complicated, isn't it? This is what you can do with number 14. Going forward in time, going backwards in time. So it's all about understanding these line settings. So once you get in position locations, let's start off with zero gravity. Now, zero gravity location, equal line center, get into coloration, right? Zero gravity line center, equal line center location is all levels of plasma, right? It's the highest formation, plasma equal locations of light, right? Now, 1 is position location. You have to understand the coloration, okay? And I'll tell you why later. So 1 equals the ground level, okay, which is line position locations of brown, okay? 2 is the security line setting, which is the coloration of red. 3 is position locations, which is your sacral, equal locations of colorations of orange. 4 is position locations, equal line setting, is your solar plex locations, equal line condition of coloration is yellow. 5 is position locations, equal line setting, is locations of balance. You have to say balance because that's what it is. It's recognition of 5, right? Balance, calculation, setting, interference. 5 over 0, 5 over 4, 5 over 3, 5 over 2, 5 over 1. 5 is the balance of everything through your 12 central system. Not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, 5. Right? What's 6 plus 6? 12. Right? But you're asking why in position locations and all levels of channel operation, right? Why is it so important to understand that you have 5 finger locations, right? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. But you have 5 fingers. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? But it's still balanced. But the balance of everything is your heart. The central communication system is your heart line setting that sets position location to your matrix that opens all channel of operation setting location. Remember that. All right. So 5 is central communication, the balance of everything in your central line of yin and yang. Process of communication line setting, coloration line center location is green. 6 is position location, so all levels of your throat, which position location of coloration, which is blue. All right. Start line setting location of division. Right? So this is the understanding. You're either balanced or you're off balance. So either you want to be balanced or you want to be off balance. It's all determination of you through your alter ego. Hua. Now, in that position of its direction, truly understand these things. 7 equals line connections, all levels. Now, because you're in a position location, it's a box. It's a theta equal line setting. Okay? Theta box. That's where you guys are in. It's the realms of communication, right? All right, so we come into that line, so you come into 8. 8 is infinity, okay? So that is the position to your quantum line setting that changes your foundations of your 12 DNA, all right? So you're coming out of your 12 lines and coming into 13, 13 to 14, 14 to 15, 16 and 17, 17, 18, 19, 20, right? All the way up to 25. We're going to stop there, and then we're going to have a quiz. Okay. So once you get into that position locations, you have to understand the position of direction that you're in. Okay. To know exactly how to use your chakra system to all levels of emotion locations, equal line connections of 6. You have 6 senses, but all calculations, you have 8. Okay. So it's all about you understanding the alteration of the mind at the conception where you reach higher levels of conscious line connections. You have conscious, subconscious, subterranean line setting, superobvious consciousness, and higher levels of your CPU and your DCP. This programs your position locations to higher levels of channel operation. Okay. More recognition of timeline sequence puts you into more platforms of communication setting. Okay. All right, so we get in line center. We know what the infinity line center location and position location is all levels. The coloration line setting is position locations of purple. Okay, it's purple, all right? So coming in position location of 9. 9 is what? Because the 8 central line setting is setting position locations, right? You're leaving 8 and you're coming out of your body. Okay, so if your avatar is out of the 7 bodies of water, you have 5 atmospheres of space to deal with. And the only way to understand that is to fully understand the calculation to its space of its time, of its pi, through its sequence pattern of coloration of synchronous locations to your chakra systems. Okay? You really have to understand and recognize each chakra system. Okay? Now we're coming into the galaxies of coloration because each chakra system is its representation from 0 to 114. That's 114 atmospheres of coloration. Now, in that position locations, you can set line position locations in that line setting. We'll start off with 9. So 9 is position location of solar. Okay, solar chakra, solar star chakra. It cleanses your system, energy wash. All right. So in that position location of its direction, it's true to understand how to use this in all calculation modification setting. Right. Now, the coloration changes your second, that changes the minute, changes the hours to its system, right? Because you have a rainbow body that you are calculating and modifying every single day through your modification of pixel streamline connections. You're all connected to your T reception location to your theta box. Remember that, okay? You're working with 12 central systems of rainbow light. different coloration locations, right? Now, it's all about understanding how to change the mixtures of patterns of communication to its chemistry, to change line settings to its coloration, to set up new galaxy line settings of travel locations, a mechanism of location of travel. In that position of its direction opens all calculation modification, all right? So once you get into modifications on levels, you come into higher line position, all right? And then you get into 10 lines, which is your galactic family, and then 11 location, which is your position locations to your universe, your solar systems, and 12 is equalizing locations to your divine, which is all levels of countries. Okay? So it's to understand how you set your tone, how you set your communications into all level system. All right. So it's all about understanding how to use your behavior line setting to know exactly what you do with the coloration line setting, because you have to understand the grounds, the airs, the waters, and the fires of you inside location. That's 4 generation line settings. Okay. You come into the micronism to its macro, which is its alpha line setting. Okay. So in that position, you have to truly understand how to use this all in calculation all at once through Stargate position. Right. So once you get out of 12, you get into 13. Now 13 line setting line position location is your higher self. That's position of 14. Now 14 is the mechanism of locations or levels of travel, which is your magnetic fields. All right. So it's all about understanding is to take the number and bring it together and create a new anomaly of a new shape of a new position to a new direct line setting. So once you understand the coloration of your chakra systems of 1 to 12 and all levels of 0 to 114 colorations of time of space to its own anomalies, then you understand the calculations modification to its galaxies, because there's so many galaxies of colorations in position at all levels of travel. So levels of 10 operation stream location, right? So regardless, you guys are already traveling through these things, but you have to really understand the foundations of you, right? Even though when you have to go back to the drawing board, doesn't matter. You're going back to 0, but you're going to a higher level. Okay, that's what it is. So don't ever think that your impositions are going back. Oh, I got to go back to the chakra system. I already know the chakra system. No, you don't. You don't know the chakra. So alteration levels of line setting, release position locations into instability. All right. So we got 55 line settings in people location and team line setting locations and 9 line centers of thumb communication. That's center generation line center location, second, minutes, hour of the day line setting. So in that position location of travel, that's 35 minutes and 4 line settings in position location in the second locations, right? Now we're in 35 point line set locations of 55. You have to understand how to use the seconds, minutes, hours, and days. That's how you change your dimensional setting of your coloration. That's how fast you are going through your clocking setting. You have 60 seconds in position location of 1 minute and 60,000 hour line strings. 60,000 hour line streams per second, per minute, per unit, per operation through calculus, high time, high 5, high line setting, high position location, high and okay. So 14 can go a long way, okay, through its own geometric operation of its design. Okay. So that's a true understanding when you come into coloration, right? So when you get into coloration, it's like paint by number. So we get a galaxy setting here in position locations of 57. That's 57 equal locations of coloration, right? That's 57 colorations. 57 colorations in one galaxy surface in your universe location. Your galaxies are going so fast in communication setting, you have to truly understand how to go around the line setting or through the position location to its calculation interference of coloration patterns and high channel operation stream. Okay. So it gets into a lot of confusion if you don't understand the alteration of the mind at conception location and how the mind works for you at all benefit position. Okay. This is where it comes into truly of its resonance line setting that opens all channels of operation to your clocking setting. Right. So that's the most important thing you have to understand. First, you start off with the 12, and then when you reach our line settings, it's all about this, guys. You have 7 chakra settings, right? It's easy to understand the 7 because you're grounding 3, right? the 0, the gravity position location, the security, and the sacra. That's it, right? 3, 4 position locations. Now, when you're reaching higher levels, you're reaching higher levels of consciousness. And each consciousness is waking your setting to higher levels of travel, of coloration. Time, position, location, and space line opens all communication cycles, sets higher levels of division locations into. Okay. So I know there's a lot of instability, but it's going to bounce out communication, right? It's been in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, but that's totally fine, right? It's because it's all levels of your calculation setting because you're not understanding the position, direction, locations. So this is where you have to really come into all base foundation of you. And the only way you can understand that is that each chakra is a representation of you through your emotional system. You have to learn how to balance these out through coloration. Okay. So once you understand the colors and once you understand the numbers and you put it together, then you understand the senses because you're using all senses in one chakra setting. Okay. So it's very important to understand what you are doing when you are in space of your own time of pi. Okay. This is going to help you in all ways and forms to get in that position, location of its direction. So focusing not necessarily on the things that I should do. Well, I'll focus on the now line settings. All right. There's a lot of instability, but that's totally fine. You guys are all being triggered right now. But that's totally fine too. I see your energies are off. That's fine. But see, it's affecting everything in the setting, right? So it's all about understanding these things take time. So the more you balance out your emotional system of your 12 foundation line setting, then you understand the 7 bodies of water, and then you understand the plateau division locations of the 5 atmospheres of you in space of time. Because you're reaching higher levels of mind conception, of alteration to its state of consciousness. Okay? All right. Getting in position, location, direction, line settings, airbender calculations, commander line position, location, Gypsy, Lindsay communications all levels, Teddy structures Laura, center line connection of Michaela, center line position, location all levels, Belinda communications center Michaela, high line center and high interference location Andy position location all levels, Belinda setting, high position locations all levels of Jill position locations Infinity, and position of Tina, line center location of Sammy position of Cammy position location all levels system, Heather calculation setting, all levels calculation interference, Trinity communication setting interference. So indirect line setting, know exactly what you're up against. All right. This is how you have to understand the importance is to balance out your avatar through your chakra system, through its alignment. Right. Every time you get up in the morning, your chakra system has to be aligned. Do a pre-test in that position locations, do a pre-flight navigation setting. Get your grounds of the mind setting, not the grounds that you're on, the grounds of your mind, the ground level, right? That is connected inside position. The more you go into deeper line setting, the more you come into the conception location of telepathy of its telekinesis line position location of its direction location of your GOD. The GOD sets the position, the geometric operation of its direction design that opens all communication to its dimension of its division. All right. Remember that. All right. So understanding what you are up against. Okay. All right. So 0 and position locations 12 to, let's go to 15. All right. All right. So in that position locations, what is the balance calculation? What is the balance calculation? Right? In position, location, of directions. So you go from 0 line setting, okay, to 5. 12 equals location of 5, and 15 location equals 5. So 5, 5, 5. Portal communication, line strip its line setting, right? So you got 5 line settings into 5 activation into 5 strings, right? 5, 5, 5. So 5, 5, 5 is position locations of balance. And all line setting at 3 position locations into 0, into 12, into 15. Anything that you do is balance. The only thing, if you don't understand the balance of you, you don't understand your chakra system of travel. Every single day is you creating. You are creating. It's going to come back line setting. You are creating an alter ego of your emotional setting to each chakra system that's in your body of emotional location. How many emotions do you think you have in detection? Let's think about that for a second, right? So this is about you balancing out your emotional setting and always informs into the modification setting to all levels of your pyramid is all determination of what you do with your navigation setting. Okay, this is the true understanding. Once you understand the balance of you, okay, is your position of your direction. What is your intention? What is your will? What is your force? What is your creation? And what is your location? Right? So you have to balance out your chakra systems in your emotional line setting of your senses. First, all in one position, all in one sequence, all in one pattern, all in one shape. Okay? So think of it this way. Each chakra system has a pattern. Okay? And it's changing every second, every minute, every hour of your day through coloration. And that is your determinations of what you do with your number sequence locations. Center position location, 3 triangle line settings. 3, 12, 16, 1000. To the sacral. So 3's up the top location. This is very high rise. 3 line setting location of sacral calculation, right? Now, what is 16 line setting? We haven't talked about that. We haven't talked about 1000 yet. We haven't talked about 12. We only know 3, right? See, it's all about you balancing you first through emotional setting. And then you realize what 16 is, and then you understand what 12 is, and then you understand what 1000 is. Because it's all balance of communication. Whatever I say is balance. If anything is off balance, it's not a calculation, right? It's off centering to all creation, which is creating another alter ego in its position. So in line setting locations, you have 3. 3 is the sacral communication line setting. Origin position, line center rotation interference. Now, 16 position location is 1 line setting ground interference location. 6 is position location, line center location near your throat, right? Put that position location in track setting. 12 is position location, country setting, high interference location. 1,000 yards, 1,000 meters, 1,000 miles per hour, doesn't matter. What matters is it balanced inside of you. And if you're not balanced inside of you, then you understand your alter ego, because that's what you're doing. You're creating an alter ego of its defense mechanism of space, time, and travel. Your job is to protect your system. It always informs. Balance the communications, balance the emotional line setting, balance the foundations of your 12, get into higher line setting, understanding the 7 gravity position locations, all level system locations to its water of you inside line connections, because you have water inside you, right? The more water you drink, the more faster you travel. Okay? So that's a true understanding when you get in your grounds. That's a true understanding when you understand the fire of you. Fire is communication of deleting all programs. Air. Everything sounds, everything is senses. It's all calculated, modified to see yourself and balance all communication system, emotional line setting. If you're in balance, you're fine. If you're off balance, you're not in position location of your center operation line set location, which is 9 setting in your positions to your calculations and how you see yourself in all formations of yin and yang. Okay? This is the process that you have to truly understand. Okay? So that's the importance you understand. Anything that I do through all line center of the mind of travel is all balance. If it's not balanced, I know why it's not balanced, because I'm creating something that's not there. And when I create something that's there, now I understand what's going on, because what it's doing is running its own program setting. And if it's running its own program setting, it's creating another alter. Okay. To stay balanced is to be balanced, not to say you're balanced, is to know you're balanced. You understand? It's your mainframe. So this is how it calculates and modifies all position location to your directions. All right. All right. So it's 1130 line setting. Okay. I think we're going to stop there because there's a lot of interference and you guys are a lot confused now. But confusion's good. This is breaking down and bringing yourself back up of what your chakra system really is in representation to you. Like I said, you have to get in position locations. Once you understand the calculations of its numbers, then we can get into shapes. Then we get into letters. And then we get into symbols. And then we get into all communication to its harmonics. Okay? This is the basic space and time of you. This is going to give you a lot more balance to understand that position locations. So each chakra system has to be balanced on the male and the female aspects of you through track location. Okay. You have hemispheres in that communication setting. Which atmosphere are you communicating with? Are you communicating with the hemisync of you? Are you communicating with the line communications of you? Are you communicating with the off center line position locations of you? As soon as I say off, does that mean I'm off balance? No. No. Because I know where I stand at all levels of space and time of operation, how it works and how it benefits on me, level, position, location to my manifestations of abundance. Okay. And that's what you guys are coming into. But now you're coming into better line connections, how to use and understand more of your chakra system. Okay. Yeah, I know I'm pixelated. So everything is a representation of you. It's how you see yourself, the locations. Now, once you understand more lines of information, location, your chakras, then you get into more lines of your formulas of equation of your own abundance. Okay. If I set up a 12 center line setting, let's set locations to its abundance location. I have to truly understand how it works. Now, when you're working with position locations, this all holds its channel line setting. Okay. So you got 12 line setting, 12 position locations of theta. Theta line position locations and communication comes into its pyramid system. Pyramid system comes into Fibonacci sequence locations. All lines send location to 3 weather pattern communication setting. Balance. Right? That's abundance. All through triangulation. Right? Exactly what you're doing with your number sequence locations of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Because that's how you modify it. That's how you calculate it. That's how you put together. That's how you all put together through numbers. Right? That's how you all put together through shapes. That's how you all put together through symbols. And that's how you all put together through the communication setting to all levels of its frequency, the energy, the vibration, and their harmonics. The constant communication setting is truly understand how you guys see each other in all position location. All right. So I think we'll stop there. You guys have basically and its missions. Adios.